Ladies and gentlemen, at some point in life, we all experience pain caused by others, whether through betrayal, harsh words, or actions that leave scars on our hearts. It's easy to feel anger, sadness, or even a desire for revenge. But today I want to share something powerful with you. Pain does not have to define you. It does not have to control you. What if I told you that the way you respond to hurt can transform your life? That instead of letting it break you, you can use it to grow stronger, wiser, and more at peace with yourself? Today, I'll share 5 life-changing ways to handle those who hurt you, not with bitterness, but with strength, wisdom, and resilience. Because true victory isn't about getting even. It's about rising above. Let's begin. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as a sign of weakness or an invitation for people to continue hurting us. But in reality, forgiveness is a powerful tool that frees us from the emotional burden of resentment and pain. When someone hurts us, our immediate reaction is often anger, sadness, or a desire for revenge. These emotions are natural, but holding on to them for too long can become toxic, affecting our mental and emotional well-being. It's easy to believe that by staying angry, we are somehow holding the other person accountable. Forgiveness does not mean excusing harmful behavior, nor does it mean allowing someone to hurt us again. Instead, it is about releasing the hold that pain has on us, choosing peace over bitterness, and reclaiming our emotional freedom. The weight of unforgiveness can manifest in many ways. It can create stress, anxiety, and even physical health problems. When we hold on to grudges, our mind remains trapped in the past, replaying the hurtful moments over and over again. This prevents us from fully enjoying the present and moving forward with our lives. Bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. It does not bring justice, nor does it bring closure. What it does is keep us emotionally shackled to the very pain we wish to escape. By choosing forgiveness, we allow ourselves to heal. It doesn't mean forgetting what happened, but it does mean refusing to let it define us. Oh, we struggle with forgiveness because we believe it lets the other person off the hook. We fear that by forgiving, we are saying their actions were acceptable. But forgiveness is not about them, it's about us. It is a personal decision to let go of the resentment that weighs us down. It does not require an apology from the one who hurt us, nor does it require reconciliation. Some people will never acknowledge the pain they caused, and waiting for their remorse can keep us trapped in an endless cycle of hurt. The true power of forgiveness lies in understanding that we do not need an apology to heal. We have the ability to move forward on our own terms. Forgiveness also plays a crucial role in our emotional growth. When we hold on to grudges, we allow our past to shape our future. We become more guarded, more cynical, and less willing to trust others. This can damage our relationships and our ability to connect with people. However, when we choose forgiveness, we reclaim control over our emotions. We no longer allow the actions of others to dictate our happiness. We become stronger, more resilient, and more at peace with ourselves. We begin to understand that we are not defined by what happened to us, but by how we choose to respond. One of the biggest obstacles to forgiveness is the belief that the pain is too great to let go. When we are deeply wounded, it can feel impossible to forgive. But forgiveness is not an instant process. It is a journey. It begins with a decision to let go, followed by small steps toward emotional healing. It requires self-reflection, patience, and sometimes even we may need to process our emotions, talk to someone we trust, or engage in practices like journaling or meditation to help us work through our feelings. The key is to start, even if it feels difficult. Over time, forgiveness becomes easier and the grip of pain begins to loosen. Another important aspect of forgiveness is understanding that it does not mean allowing toxic people to remain in our life. We can forgive someone and still choose to walk away. Setting boundaries is essential to protect ourselves from further harm. Forgiveness is about releasing our own suffering, not about giving someone permission to continue hurting us. It is possible to forgive and still hold people accountable for their actions. We can choose to move forward with wisdom, ensuring that we do not put ourselves in situations where we will be hurt again. Forgiveness does not mean allowing the cycle of pain to continue. It means breaking free from it. Self-compassion is also a crucial part of the forgiveness process. Often when we have been hurt, we carry guilt, shame, or self-blame. We question what we could have done differently or why we allowed ourselves to be in that situation. But holding on to self-blame only deepens our wounds. It means recognizing that we did the best we could with the knowledge we had at the time. It means being kind to ourselves and allowing space for healing. We cannot change the past, but we can choose to treat ourselves with the same compassion that we strive to extend to others. Many people mistake forgiveness for reconciliation, but the two are not the same. Reconciliation requires effort from both parties. It requires trust to be rebuilt and genuine change to take place. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is a personal choice that does not require the other person's involvement. We can forgive someone and still choose never to speak to them again. We can forgive without forgetting. The goal is not to erase what happened, but to free ourselves from the emotional chains that keep us stuck in the past. Forgiveness is also an act of self-empowerment. It allows us to reclaim our narrative. Instead of being a victim of our circumstances, we become the authors of our own healing. We take back control from those who hurt us by refusing to let their actions determine our emotional state. This shift in perspective is powerful because it reminds us that no one has the power to steal our peace unless we allow it. By choosing to forgive, we prove to ourselves that we are stronger than our pain. Sometimes we struggle to forgive because we fear that doing so will leave us vulnerable. We worry that if we let go of our anger, we will be hurt again. But true strength is not in holding on to pain, it is in rising above it. Strength comes from knowing that we have the power to heal, that we are not defined by what others have done to us, and that our happiness is not dependent on anyone else's actions. Forgiveness does not mean we are weak. It means we are brave enough to release what no longer serves us. One of the greatest examples of forgiveness can be seen in those who have endured unimaginable pain, yet still choose love over resentment. There are people who have lost everything to betrayal, injustice, or cruelty, yet they refuse to let hatred consume them. Their ability to forgive does not mean their pain was insignificant. It means they refuse to let it control their future. Their stories serve as a reminder that forgiveness is not just a moral virtue, it is a pathway to freedom. The act of forgiveness does not always happen in a single moment. Sometimes we must choose to forgive every day. especially when the pain runs deep. Some wounds take time to heal, and that's okay. The important thing is to keep moving forward, to keep making the conscious decision. Some days will be harder than others, and there may be moments when old emotions resurface. But every time we choose forgiveness, we take another step toward freedom. Forgiveness is ultimately about choosing ourselves. It is about deciding that we deserve peace more than we deserve to be right. It is about valuing our own emotional well-being over holding on to grudges. It is about breaking the cycle of pain and choosing a future that is not dictated by the actions of others. It is not easy, and it is not always immediate, but it is always worth it. Setting boundaries is one of the most important ways to protect your peace when dealing with people who have hurt you. When someone causes pain, it is easy to fall into patterns of over-explaining, seeking validation, or trying to make them understand the hurt they have caused. However, not everyone will acknowledge their actions or change their behavior. This is where boundaries become essential. Boundaries are not about controlling others, they are about protecting yourself. They define what you will and will not accept in your life, allowing you to safeguard your mental, emotional, and even physical well-being. Without clear boundaries, people may continue to take advantage of your kindness. It is important to recognize what makes you feel uncomfortable, drained, or disrespected. Many people ignore these feelings because they fear conflict or do not want to upset others. However, suppressing discomfort only leads to frustration, resentment, and emotional exhaustion. The first step to setting boundaries is identifying your limits and understanding that it is okay to prioritize your needs. You are not obligated to tolerate behavior that makes you feel unsafe, unworthy, or emotionally drained. Recognizing your own worth is crucial because when you respect yourself, you teach others to respect you as well. One of the biggest challenges in setting boundaries is overcoming the fear of disappointing others. Many people hesitate to establish limits because they do not want to be perceived as rude, selfish, or unkind. However, setting boundaries is not an act of selfishness, it is an act of self-respect. People who genuinely care about you will understand and respect your limits, while those who push against them often have their own interests in mind. It is important to remember that you cannot control how others react to your boundaries, but you can control how you enforce them. Not everyone will be happy with your decision to protect your peace, and that is okay. It is not your responsibility to manage their emotions at the expense of your own well-being. Communicating boundaries clearly and assertively is key to ensuring they are respected. Many people struggle with this because they fear confrontation or rejection. However, expressing your limits does not have to be aggressive or confrontational. It can be done with calmness, confidence, and clarity. Using I statements can help keep the conversation focused on your needs rather than placing blame. For example, instead of saying, "You always make me feel bad about myself," you can say, "I feel uncomfortable when you speak to me that way, and I need you to stop." This approach makes it clear that you are setting a personal boundary rather than attacking the other person. It is also important to be firm in your boundary. If someone repeatedly disrespects your limits despite your clear communication, it may be necessary to distance yourself from that person. Learning to say no is another vital aspect of setting boundaries. Many people struggle with saying no because they fear rejection, guilt, or conflict. However, constantly saying yes to things that make you uncomfortable or unhappy can lead to burnout and resentment. You are not obligated to please everyone, and you do not need to justify every decision you make. Saying no is not a sign of weakness, rudeness. It is a sign of self-respect. When you say no to things that drain you, you create space for things that truly bring you joy and fulfillment. It is okay to decline invitations, reject toxic relationships, and remove yourself from situations that do not align with your well-being. When dealing with people who have hurt you, it is crucial to recognize when their words, actions, or behavior are affecting your emotional state. If someone constantly criticizes, belittles, or manipulates you, it is a sign that they are overstepping your emotional boundaries. It is okay to limit your exposure to negativity, even if it comes from family, close friends, or colleagues. Protecting your mental and emotional health is not about shutting people out. It is about ensuring that you are in environments that promote your growth and happiness. You have the right to distance yourself from toxic conversations, negative energy, and people who make you feel unworthy in another. Important aspect of boundary setting is understanding that not everyone deserves access to your emotions. Some people thrive on creating drama, stirring conflict, or making others feel guilty. These individuals do not respect boundaries because they rely on emotional reactions to maintain control. Recognizing this pattern is the first step in detaching from their influence. You do not owe anyone an explanation for choosing to protect your peace. You do not have to engage in arguments, prove your worth, or constantly defend yourself. Walking away from unnecessary conflict is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. Sometimes people will test your boundaries to see if they can push past them. This is why consistency is key. If you allow someone to cross your boundaries once, they will assume they can do it again. It is important to reinforce your limits with actions, not just words. If someone continues to disrespect your boundaries, you may need to take further steps, such as reducing communication, limiting interactions, or even cutting ties altogether. Letting go of toxic relationships is difficult, especially when emotional attachments are involved. However, holding on to people who consistently hurt you only prolongs your suffering. You cannot force someone to change, but you can choose to remove yourself from situations that bring you harm. One of the greatest misconceptions about setting boundaries is that it means shutting people out completely. In reality, boundaries create healthier relationships. When you establish clear expectations, misunderstandings are reduced and respect is strengthened. Healthy boundaries allow you to interact with others without feeling controlled, manipulated, or emotionally drained. They also empower you to be more authentic because you no longer feel the need to suppress your feelings to accommodate others. When people respect your boundaries, it creates a foundation of mutual understanding and trust. It is important to acknowledge that setting boundaries can be challenging at first. If you are used to prioritizing others over yourself, it may feel uncomfortable or even selfish. However, discomfort is a natural part of growth. The more you practice enforcing your boundaries, the easier it becomes. Over time, you will notice a shift in how people treat you. Those who respect you will appreciate your honesty, while those who only wanted to take advantage of you may drift away. This is not a loss, it is a gain. Losing people who do not respect your boundaries means making space for healthier relationships that support your well-being. Boundaries also play a crucial role in self-care. When you establish limits, you create time and space for things that nourish your soul. You allow yourself to focus on personal growth, hobbies, and relationships that bring you happiness. You learn to value yourself enough to say no to things that drain your energy and yes to things that uplift you. When you set boundaries, you send a message to yourself and others that your well-being matters. You are not responsible for carrying the weight of other people's emotions, and you do not have to sacrifice your peace to make others comfortable. One of the most empowering realizations about boundaries is that they give you control over your own life. And instead of reacting to others, you start making intentional choices about who and what you allow into your space. You no longer feel obligated to participate in toxic dynamics, and you gain the confidence to walk away from situations that do not align with your values. Boundaries help you reclaim your power by reminding you that you are in charge of your own happiness. While setting boundaries may require difficult conversations and uncomfortable decisions, it is an essential step toward emotional freedom. It is not about building walls, it is about creating a life that aligns with your peace, happiness, and self-respect. The more you practice enforcing your boundaries, the stronger and more confident you become. Over time, you will see that the people who truly value you will respect your limits, and those who do not were never meant to stay in your life. But what truly defines us is how we choose to respond to it. When people hurt us, it is easy to fall into a cycle of self-pity, resentment, and bitterness. The wounds left by betrayal, disappointment, or rejection can linger, making it difficult to trust again or move forward. However, pain, if used correctly, can become one of the most powerful tools for growth. Instead of allowing hurt to break us, we can choose to transform it into wisdom, resilience. Every challenge, every heartbreak, and every moment of suffering has the potential to teach us something valuable about ourselves, our boundaries, and our purpose. One of the first steps in turning pain into growth is shifting the perspective from victimhood to empowerment. When we are hurt, it is natural to dwell on the injustice of the situation, replaying the events in our minds and questioning why things happened the way they did. While it is important to acknowledge the pain, staying in that mindset for too long can be detrimental. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? A more powerful question is, what can I learn from this? Every painful experience carries a lesson. Whether it is about trust, resilience, self-worth, or boundaries. The moment we stop seeing pain as something that happens to us and start viewing it as something that happens for us, we begin to regain control over our own narrative. Growth through pain requires self-reflection. When we take the time to analyze our experiences, we start recognizing patterns in our lives. Sometimes repeated pain comes from allowing the wrong people into our space or ignoring red flags that we should have paid attention to. Other times it reveals areas where we need to build emotional strength, self-love, or resilience. Pain is often mirror, reflecting back to us the areas of our lives that need healing. Avoiding this reflection only prolongs suffering, but facing it head on allows us to break cycles that no longer serve us. Healing does not mean forgetting what happened. It means learning how to coexist with the pain without allowing it to control us. Many people mistakenly believe that moving on requires pretending the hurt never existed or suppressing emotion. However, true healing comes from processing the pain in a healthy way. This may involve journaling, talking to a trusted friend or therapist, or engaging in activities that help release emotional burdens. The more we allow ourselves to feel and process emotions, the more clarity we gain about what needs to change in our lives. Another important aspect of turning pain into growth is developing emotional resilience. Life is unpredictable, and challenges will always arise. Learning how to navigate pain in a way that strengthens rather than weakens us is essential for long-term well-being. Resilience is not about avoiding pain altogether, but about learning how to rise after every fall. It is about trusting that no matter what happens, we have the inner strength to overcome. When we view pain as an opportunity to build resilience, we begin to approach hardships with a mindset of endurance rather than defeat. Pain also serves as a powerful motivator for self-improvement. Some of the greatest transformations come from moments of deep suffering. When people experience heartbreak, betrayal, or failure, they often find themselves at a crossroads. They can either allow the pain to consume them, or they can use it as fuel to become stronger and wiser. Many people have turned their greatest disappointments into their biggest sources of motivation. A failed relationship can push someone to develop greater self-love. A betrayal can teach someone to set firmer boundaries. A career setback can lead to the discovery of a new passion or purpose. When we channel pain into action, we create opportunities for personal evolution. Letting go of resentment is a crucial step in growing through pain. Holding on to anger and bitterness may feel justified. Resentment keeps us emotionally tied to the people who hurt us, giving them continued power over our emotions. Releasing these negative emotions does not mean excusing the behavior or forgetting what happened. It means choosing peace over prolonged suffering. It is an act of self-liberation, allowing us to move forward without carrying the weight of the past. Letting go does not happen overnight, but small steps toward emotional detachment can make a significant difference in overall well-being. Self-compassion is another essential element of using pain for growth. Often when we are hurt, we direct blame inward, questioning what we could have done differently or feeling as if we were not enough. This self-criticism only deepens the wound. Instead of being harsh with ourselves, we need to practice self-kindness, acknowledging that pain is part of the human experience and allowing ourselves grace during difficult times fosters healing. Treating ourselves with the same compassion that we would extend to a friend in pain shifts our mindset from self-judgment to self-acceptance. Pain also deepens empathy. Those who have endured hardship often develop a greater capacity for understanding and compassion toward others. Experiencing suffering allows us to connect with people on a deeper level, recognizing that everyone carries their own burdens. This newfound empathy can strengthen relationships, enhance emotional intelligence, and even inspire acts of kindness and service. Many people who have gone through deep pain find purpose in helping others who are facing similar struggle. Whether through mentorship, advocacy, or simple acts of kindness, transforming pain into a means of support for others creates a sense of fulfillment and connection. Growth through pain also involves redefining self-worth. When someone hurts us, it can sometimes lead to feelings of inadequacy or self-doubt. It is important to remember that another person's actions do not determine our value. True self-worth comes from within, not from external validation. Learning to affirm our own worth, independent of how others treat us, is a powerful step in personal development. When we stop seeking approval from those who do not appreciate us and start recognizing our own value, We become less susceptible to being wounded by external circumstances. Cultivating gratitude, even in moments of pain, is a transformative practice. While it may seem difficult to find gratitude in hardship, shifting focus toward lessons learned and personal growth can change the entire healing process. Gratitude does not mean ignoring the pain. It means acknowledging that even in struggle there is something valuable to gain. Finding appreciation for the strength built through adversity fosters resilience and a positive outlook on life. Many people who have overcome challenges later look back and realize that their most painful experiences led them to greater wisdom, purpose, or unexpected opportunities. Surrounding ourselves with positive influences is another way to facilitate growth through pain. The people we allow into our lives have a significant impact on our mindset and healing process. Being around those who uplift, encourage, and inspire helps create an environment conducive to growth. Conversely, staying around negative or toxic individuals can prolong suffering and hinder progress. Choosing relationships that align with healing and self-improvement makes the journey of growth smoother and more fulfilling. Developing a sense of purpose after pain can be life-changing. Many people who have faced adversity go on to create meaningful change, whether in their own lives or in the lives of others. Pain can become a driving force for setting new goals, building a stronger sense of self, or making a positive impact on the world. Some of the most inspiring leaders, artists, and change makers have used their hardships as motivation to create something greater. Pain does not have to be the end of the story. It can be the beginning of something profound. Taking responsibility for our own healing is the final step in transforming pain into growth. While the actions of others may have caused suffering, the responsibility for healing lies within us. No one else can do the inner work required to move forward. Waiting for an apology, closure, or external validation can keep us stuck in the past. Taking ownership of our healing journey allows us to regain control over our emotional well-being. When we stop waiting for others to make things right and start focusing on our own growth, we step into a place of power, resilience, and self-determination. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as an act of weakness or surrender, but in reality, it is one of the most powerful and liberating choices a person can make. When people hurt us, our natural instinct is to hold on to resentment, anger, or even a desire for revenge. We believe that by doing so, we are somehow balancing the scales or protecting ourselves from further harm. However, what many fail to realize is that holding on to pain does not punish the person who caused it. It only imprisons us. The act of forgiveness is not about excusing the hurt or allowing the wrongdoer back into our lives. It is about releasing the emotional burden that keeps us tied to the past. It is about choosing peace over suffering, freedom over bitterness, and growth over stagnation. At its core, forgiveness is a gift we give to ourselves. When we refuse to forgive, we allow negative emotions to take up space in our minds and hearts. We replay painful memories, reliving the hurt over and over again, allowing the past to dictate our present emotions. This ongoing cycle of resentment can affect every area of life, from relationships and mental health to personal growth and happiness. The longer we hold on to grudges, the more we allow the person who hurt us to have power over our emotions. By choosing to forgive, we take back that power. We reclaim our ability to move forward unburdened, no longer allowing the past to define us. One of the most difficult aspects of forgiveness is separating it from reconciliation. Many people believe that forgiving someone means inviting them back into their lives, or pretending that the hurt never happened. However, forgiveness does not require reconciliation. It is possible to forgive someone while still maintaining necessary boundaries, or choosing to walk away from the relationship altogether. Forgiveness is an internal process. It is about making peace with what happened and releasing the emotional grip it has on us. Some people are not meant to stay in our lives, and forgiving them does not mean we have to continue allowing them access to our emotions or well-being. Forgiveness is also not about forgetting. The phrase forgive and forget can be misleading, as it suggests that true forgiveness means erasing the memory of the pain. However, forgetting is neither realistic nor necessary. Painful experiences teach us important lessons, and remembering those lessons can help us avoid similar situations in the future. What matters is how we remember. Instead of holding on to painful memories with resentment and anger, we can choose to view them with wisdom and growth. The goal is not to erase the past, but to change the way it affects our present and future. One of the reasons forgiveness can be so challenging is that it often feels unfair. When someone deeply wounds us, it is natural to want justice, accountability, or even an apology. However, waiting for the other person to acknowledge their wrongdoing can keep us trapped in pain. Some people will never apologize, and some will never recognize the damage they have done. If our healing is dependent on their remorse, we give them control over our emotional well-being. True forgiveness happens when we release the need for external validation and choose to heal regardless of whether or not the wrongdoer ever seeks redemption. Forgiveness does not happen overnight. It is a process that requires intentional effort and self-reflection. Some wounds are deeper than others, and healing takes time. It begins with acknowledging the hurt and allowing ourselves to feel the emotion associated with it. Suppressing pain only prolongs suffering, while confronting it head-on allows us to process it in a healthy way. Expressing emotions through journaling, therapy, or conversations with trusted friends can help clarify our thoughts and bring awareness to the areas that need healing. The more we understand our own pain, the easier it becomes to release it. A crucial part of forgiveness is practicing empathy. While this does not mean excusing harmful behavior, it does mean recognizing that everyone is shaped by their own experiences, wounds, and insecurities. Hurt people often hurt others, not always out of malice, but because they themselves are carrying unresolved pain. Understanding this does not mean justifying their actions, but it can help us detach from taking their behavior personally. When we realize that their actions were a reflection of their own struggles rather than a measure of our worth, it becomes easier to let go of resentment. Letting go of grudges requires a shift in mindset. Instead of viewing forgiveness as something we do for the other person, we must see it as a means of freeing ourselves. Holding on to bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. It affects our mental and emotional well-being far more than it affects the person. Choosing forgiveness is choosing to prioritize our peace. It is deciding that our happiness is more important than our anger. It is acknowledging that we deserve to move forward without carrying the weight of past hurts. Forgiveness also strengthens resilience. Every time we choose to release pain instead of holding on to it, we become emotionally stronger. We learn that we are capable of overcoming hardship without letting it define us. Life will always bring challenges, disappointments, and betrayals, but the ability to forgive allows us to navigate these difficulties with grace and strength. We develop emotional intelligence, learning how to process pain in a way that fosters growth rather than destruction. In some cases, the hardest person to forgive is ourselves. We often hold on to guilt and regret. Self-forgiveness is just as important as forgiving others. Carrying self-blame prevents us from fully embracing personal growth and healing. Just as we extend compassion to others, we must also extend it to ourselves. Acknowledging mistakes, learning from them, and allowing ourselves to move forward without self-judgment is an essential part of emotional freedom. Forgiveness is not a one-time decision, it is a practice. There may be moments when old pain resurfaces, bringing back emotions we thought we had released. In these moments, we must remind ourselves why we chose forgiveness in the first place. It is okay to feel emotions, but it is important not to let them control us. The more we practice forgiveness, the easier it becomes. It becomes a habit, a way of living that prioritizes peace over pain. One of the greatest benefits of forgiveness is the ability to experience life more fully when we are consumed by resentment. It is difficult to fully enjoy the present. Negative emotions take up mental space, preventing us from embracing joy, love, and new opportunities. Releasing resentment creates room for positive experiences and healthier relationships. It allows us to connect with others without fear, trust without hesitation, and love without the burden of past wounds. Forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to inner strength. It takes courage to let go of pain, to rise above resentment, and to choose peace when anger feels justified. The ability to forgive reflects a deep understanding of self-worth and a commitment to emotional well-being. It is an act of taking control of our own happiness, refusing to let the past dictate our future. While the journey to forgiveness may not always be easy, the freedom it brings is always worth the effort.